Ever crack open a book, and right from the title, you just know it's going to be a wild ride.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's Dance Then Die is one of those.
Yeah.
Dark, intense, and at the heart of it is Tyrone Clarke.
Right.
This deep dive is going to grapple with the question, is someone like that born evil, or does life make them that way?
It's the age-old question, isn't it? Nature versus nurture. And this story, it really digs into that, using Tyrone's life as our lens.
And it's unsettling right from the start. I mean, even his birth is creepy.
Oh.
Yeah, we're talking a tense, like, hospital room,
Yeah.
a doctor who is beside himself.
Right.
The nurse is freaking out because baby Tyrone isn't breathing.
Oh, wow.
They think he's gone.
Okay.
And that's when things get weird.
Okay, so what happens? Give me the details.
Green swirling energy.
What?
Yeah, the author paints this picture of this green swirling energy. It kind of descends on Tyrone, and the doctor and nurse are physically repelled by it.
Like they were pushed back.
Yeah, almost. And then, poof, it's gone. Next instant, Tyrone takes his first breath.
Okay, so right away, we're in a world where things aren't quite what they seem. You know, it makes you think about that line from the prologue, the one about horrors we might not believe.
Yeah. So,
Like, is this a taste of that? Is there something supernatural happening here? It's subtle, but it makes you wonder if this is foreshadowing something more sinister at play.
Right. But, okay, let's say we set aside the spooky green energy for a second. Tyrone's childhood, a nightmare. Plain and simple.
Oh, yeah.
Cramped house, way too many people, bone-deep poverty.
And a stepfather who makes things even worse.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Strict. We're talking about Frederick Marshall, a man who doles out violence like it's oxygen. Tyrone and his sister Susan, they're trapped in this pressure cooker, and the impact, I mean, it's impossible to ignore.
The book does not hold back on how terrified Susan is of her stepfather. The constant bruises.
Just awful.
Heartbreaking. And Tyrone, in his own messed up way, vows to protect her.
How old are they at this point? Are they like little kids?
Yeah, still young. And they cling to this dream of escaping.
Makes sense. I mean, who wouldn't want to escape that?
Right. And that's where their relationship takes this truly complicated turn. We need to talk about Tyrone and Susan's bond because it's messy.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it forces us to ask some really hard questions.
Definitely not your average sibling relationship.
No, not at all. Sharing a bed growing up, finding comfort in each other, it progresses. And eventually that comfort becomes physical.
Yeah, the author doesn't shy away from that.
No. It's described, frankly, but there's also this disturbing tenderness to it.
It really makes you wonder, given the environment, can we just label it as purely wrong? I mean, is it a reflection of their need for love, for security? This is where Let's Dance Then Die starts to really challenge the reader.
It does.
Yeah.
And as Tyrone gets older, that line between right and wrong starts to blur even more for him, especially when it comes to violence. It's like he doesn't have another gear.
Always quick to anger?
Oh, yeah. There's this one line that stuck with me. Tyrone prefers knives over guns. He likes to get close, seeing his enemies bleed.
Which speaks volumes about how deeply ingrained violence has become for him. It's not just about achieving a goal for Tyrone, it's about the act itself, about exerting control, almost like a twisted form of communication. What does that tell you about the lasting impact of his childhood?
It's definitely not your average, oh, he had a rough upbringing kind of detail. This goes deeper, like it's wired into him. And this brings us to Virginia Pierce.
Virginia Pierce.
Yeah, she's a regular at the club where Tyrone and Susan hang out. And it's clear Virginia has her eyes on Tyrone, which wouldn't be a problem except Susan.
Ah, okay.
Susan is volatile.
Yeah.
Convinced that Tyrone is going to leave her. It's a powder keg waiting for a spark.
And their encounter is the spark.
Oh, yeah. Big time. And, it's not even like Tyrone is pursuing Virginia. He's almost passive,
Yeah.
going along with it, but not exactly Mr. Romantic.
Sure.
But, of course, it blows up in his face when Susan finds out.
How does she react?
It's not pretty. She
Yeah.
doesn't just confront Tyrone. She demands he kill Virginia.
Whoa.
Yeah, and this is where we see that shift in Tyrone.
Mm-hmm.
The violence becomes less about survival and more about this, like, twisted loyalty.
Oh, intense.
What's chilling is how he responds. Doesn't even hesitate, just asks, is that it? It's like murder is just another chore on his to-do list. And he does it. He actually kills her.
Oh, wow.
The way the author describes it is not just about the act itself. It's the complete lack of emotion from Tyrone.
Yeah.
He even cracks a joke afterward, calling Virginia Cinderella as he's dumping her body.
It's like you were saying, violence is his language now. It's how he expresses loyalty, solves problems, even deals with grief in a way.
Yeah.
But the really terrifying thing is the contrast. Like, he's capable of this meticulous planning when it suits him,
Right.
like with his stepfather's murder, but this is chillingly impulsive,
Right.
fueled by, that warped devotion to Susan.
And speaking of that promise to Susan about getting rid of their abuser, Tyrone follows through on that one too.
He does.
Oh, yeah. And it's cold-blooded, to say the least.
So what happens?
Well, the murder of Frederick Marshall, it really shows us the depths of Tyrone's capacity for violence. It's not like he just snaps. He plans it all out, every detail.
Really?
The plastic sheet, the way that he strangles him with a towel, how he disposes of the body.
Wow.
It's methodical, almost ritualistic.
And the book, it doesn't shy away from these details, right?
No, it doesn't. And it's gruesome, the way Tyrone dismembers the body, scatters the remains.
Just horrific.
It is horrific, yet he seems almost detached throughout the whole thing.
Like he's just going through the motions.
Yeah, like he's just checking off items on a grocery list.
And what about Susan? Does she play a part in this?
Well, after he kills Frederick, he goes back to Susan's room, kisses her forehead, and whispers, "The old F won't bother you anymore."
Oh my God.
That one line, tucked into all that brutality, I think it really reveals the twisted love that's driving him.
It's like a chilling reminder that even in his darkest acts, his main motivation is protecting Susan.
It's a strange duality, right? He commits these horrific acts, but it's all driven by this, messed up sense of love. It makes you wonder if that's somehow more disturbing than if he was just a straight-up psychopath.
Right, because there's a level of, thought, I guess, that goes into it. It's not just this mindless rage.
Exactly.
It adds this layer of complexity to his character.
It does.
That's both fascinating and honestly deeply unsettling.
Yeah. So the story then fast forwards 15 years. Tyrone gets out of prison, reconnects with his old friend Kelly, and that's when he finds out what happened to Susan while he was locked up.
Okay. And what happens?
It's tragic. She managed to escape her stepfather, but she ends up trapped in another abusive situation. This time, under the control of a pimp named Spank.
Oh, God. Talk about a gut punch.
It's awful.
It really highlights that cyclical nature of violence, doesn't it? How people who've been exposed to it, especially at a young age, can get caught in these patterns even if they desperately want to escape.
Right.
It's heartbreaking, and it sets the stage for the final act of Tyrone's story.
Because when Tyrone finds out about Spank, it's like something snaps in him. That protective instinct, already warped to begin with, goes into overdrive.
Makes sense.
He targets 2 women associated with Spank, lures them to a motel room,
Oh, no.
and murders them.
Jesus.
It's a horrific echo of his past. You see the brutality, the coldness.
Does he say anything? Does he give any reason?
He leaves a message on the wall written in their blood, signed, "Love Ty."
Love Ty. Oh, God. It's like he's sending a Valentine's Day card from hell.
It's awful. And it's clear that in his mind, this is about protecting Susan. Even if it's from afar, he's eliminating threats. But the methods are just, they're monstrous.
And I'm guessing this does not have the intended effect.
No, this time he's gone too far. Spank isn't going to let this slide.
Of course not.
And the story, it hurtles toward this final bloody confrontation.
This isn't just a fight. This is a full-blown massacre waiting to happen. What goes through your mind knowing how deep Tyrone's gone? How much he's already capable of?
It's brutal. Spank and his gang, they don't mess around.
No.
They kidnap Tyrone and Kelly, and the beating that they unleash is horrific.
Oh, God.
It's almost hard to read. You know what I mean? Like, how much can these characters endure?
It's a testament to how far gone Tyrone is at this point.
Yeah.
Even after everything he's been through, he's still fighting, still driven by this singular purpose.
Right.
But what's even more disturbing is that Kelly, who got caught in the crossfire, he doesn't make it out alive.
It's like all the violence that Tyrone has unleashed comes back full circle.
Yeah.
He might have been trying to protect Susan, but at what cost?
And then comes the final blow. The one that just shatters Tyrone completely. Spank, fatally wounded but still clinging to life. He delivers the knockout punch.
Oh, God.
He tells Tyrone to open the trunk of the car.
I get chills just thinking about it.
Oh, yeah.
Inside that trunk
Yeah.
is Susan's body.
Oh.
My God. The author does not hold back on the gut-wrenching details,
No.
but it's Spank's final words that really twist the knife. She was a bad lay anyway, he says.
It's just a final act of cruelty, you know? It just exposes the reality of her situation, the exploitation that she faced. And for Tyrone, it's a complete and utter breakdown. I mean, up until this point, he's been this force of nature, you know, fueled by rage and a twisted sort of love. But seeing Susan like that, realizing that everything he's done has been for nothing, it breaks him.
He cries. He throws up,
Yeah.
curls up next to the trunk, just, I mean, completely undone. Tyrone, we've seen this entire story, the one who seemed incapable of feeling anything but anger, finally crumbles.
And yet, even in that moment of vulnerability, there's this disturbing echo of his past.
What do you mean?
Remember those nights, Tyrone and Susan in their bedroom, dancing, finding solace in each other? It comes back in this horrifying, heartbreaking way.
He starts to dance with Susan's body,
Oh, God.
just like they used to. The image the author paints, it's both grotesque and intensely sad. This man, so broken by grief and trauma, retreats into this macabre echo of his childhood.
And that's how he dies.
Yeah. Dancing with his dead sister, riddled with bullets by Spank's remaining enforcer.
Jesus.
But it doesn't end there, does it?
The green.
The green energy, it returns. As Tyrone breathes his last, that green energy surges out of him like it was waiting for this moment all along. It leaves you with chills, with this unsettling feeling that maybe there was something more at play in Tyrone's life, something beyond just a rough childhood.
Right. It's this haunting reminder that sometimes the line between good and evil, between nature and nurture, it isn't as clear as we'd like to believe. Tyrone's story is a tragedy, from beginning to end. And it leaves us with this lingering question. Was he a victim of circumstance? A vessel for something darker? Or both?
It's a question without an easy answer, and it's one that stays with you long after you finish the book. So if you've read Let's Dance Then Die, we want to hear from you. What's your take on the green energy? Was Tyrone doomed from the start? Or did he have a chance to break free? Head to our website, let us know your thoughts. And if you haven't read it yet, well, let's just say it's not your typical bedtime story. Until next time, keep those pages turning.